Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us today. It is my honor to host our CFO, Blaise Ngolea, for this press conference and to introduce him. Here's what I know. He is the man. I see about this fraud and waste, and you're seeing it in Minnesota about all this fraud. That doesn't happen here. What happens in Florida is he investigates them, puts them in jail, and they're prosecuted. He keeps Florida safe. That's why we're glad to stand with him today. But before I turn it over to our CFO, I want to introduce my county commissioners that are here, Bill Braswell, Becky Troutman, and Rick Wilson. Thank you all very much. When in this county we need help, they're the ones that have my back, along with their two colleagues that couldn't be with us today. That's why crime's at a 54-year low. So commissioners, we couldn't do what we do without you. So thank you, and thank you for being with us. Blaise?
Sure. Sheriff, first of all, thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for everything that you do, along with you guys up here keeping the community safe and the deputies in front of me. Just appreciate everything you do. First, before we start on the press conference, I was aware of another incident involving law enforcement last night that happened in Minneapolis again. And look, I'm for the people who know me, know that I don't bite my tongue very well. And when I see stuff like that, I get very angry and frustrated at the lack of leadership in some places of the United States, definitely not in Florida, because I think we do things different here. We take law enforcement very seriously. We prioritize law enforcement. The things that are going on in Mississippi and more particularly Minneapolis, they are just an absolute travesty. In my opinion, Governor Walz should resign in absolute shame for everything that's going on with the level of fraud and corruption that we're seeing in that state. And for Mayor Fry, that guy needs to resign also. He is creating an environment where residents now think it's okay to attack law enforcement. This would not have happened if it wasn't for a woke mayor of an area getting on TV, making excuses for people to create crimes and inflict pain and harm upon law enforcement. Both of those guys need to be out of office, and out of office quickly. The people of Minnesota and the people of the city of Minneapolis deserve better than to have those two buffoons leading that state and that city. I just have to say that. I just have to get that off of my chest. We do everything that we can here in the state of Florida to protect our law enforcement. I don't think you would ever find anyone here in this state getting on TV demonizing law enforcement, especially the way Mayor Fry, whatever his name is. He needs to go, and he needs to go yesterday. So, again, thank you, Sheriff Judd, for having us here today. My name is Blaise Ngolea. It is an honor to be the CFO of the great state of Florida. I'm also happy to be joined here today by Sheriff Nocco, Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, thank you. Sheriff Al Nihais. Sheriff, thank you, from Hernando County. Major Ryan Brown, Sarasota Sheriff's Office, thank you for coming here. Colonel James Chip Roberts, Hardy County, and Chief Ruggiero from the Port Richey Police Department. I'm going to go over a little about the history of illegal immigration and sort of how we got here to this point. In 1986, Congress, with the backing of then President Ronald Reagan, passed passed the Immigration Reform and Control Act, otherwise known as ICRA. It was supposed to be a landmark law that granted illegal immigrants amnesty, but at the same time was supposed to strengthen border security and strengthen workplace enforcement. So what happened? Almost 3 million illegal immigrants were granted amnesty, and the enhanced immigration enforcement that was intended never, ever happened. In fact, over time, we had seen that the immigration laws were weakened, creating an opportunity for more and more illegal immigration. Foreign nationals, people in other countries, saw that the United States just granted amnesty to 3 million illegal immigrants with no follow-up enforcement whatsoever, which incentivized even more illegal immigration. For decades, immigrants crossed over our borders illegally, while states in the U.S. created programs to supposedly help them. Now, eventually, so many of these states expanded these programs so generously that the programs themselves acted as magnets, attracting more and more illegal immigrants to this country. It was a recipe for disaster, and that disaster came in the form of the de facto open border policies of the Biden administration. Under Joe Biden's watch, illegals flooded the southern border. We went from a promise of illegal immigrant enforcement that never came to Border Patrol being sidelined by open border leftists and pro-amnesty policies, allowing anywhere in total about 17 to 21 million illegal immigrants eventually entering our country illegally. Why? Because they receive generous public assistance at the taxpayer expense. In fact, you guys have seen this just recently, a couple of years ago, that many illegals were being housed in New York City in hotels. Think about that. Not taking care of our veterans, demonizing law enforcement, but yet putting people come over to this country illegally in nice hotels in New York City. In many states, illegal immigrants can receive free health care, free education, free legal advice, food stamps, unemployment, reduced tuition, driver's licenses, auto insurance, law degrees. Think about that. An illegal immigrant could become a lawyer in places in the United States when they were promising and swearing to uphold the laws of the United States, when they broke the law actually getting into this country in the first place. Why, with all of this, would someone want to wait 10 years and spend $50,000 or $60,000 to come to this country legally when they can give $10,000 to the drug cartels and get humans smuggled over the border to become an illegal in this country? Why spend all that time, energy, and money coming here legally when we are incentivizing people to come over illegally? While Biden and his cronies allowed illegal immigration to wreak havoc on our country, Florida understood that any incentive for illegal immigration had to be removed, and we had to be bold in leading the nation against woke open border policies. That's why we worked hard to ban sanctuary cities, enhanced criminal penalties for human smuggling, and added human smuggling to the list of crimes allowed under prosecution under Florida's RICO's Act. We stopped the issuance of driver's license and community IDs to illegal immigrants. We implemented mandatory DNA testing for illegals who commit crimes to get them in a database. So if they committed a crime, a more heinous crime later, we would already have their DNA. We mandated that hospitals start tracking how much money was spent on delivering health care to illegal immigrants. We stopped in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. We said that everyone had to, if you're a business, we mandated use of E-Verify for everyone. We stopped the practice of any illegal immigrant getting a law license here in the state of Florida. And probably most importantly, and one of the reasons why we're here today, mandatory 287G, where we have a partnership with the federal government and our law enforcement, the guys and the gals standing behind me and in your communities, so we can rid our communities from the criminal element, those illegal immigrants who are here commit crimes. But thankfully, we are living in a new age with new leadership of accountability and law and order. The days of the open southern border are over. When President Trump took office last year and gave Florida the full support of the federal government in rectifying the illegal immigration crisis, Florida took that support, took the ball and ran with it, and continued to create the blueprint for other states to follow to ensure the safety and security of our citizens. We worked to get legislation passed so that all law enforcement agencies could be 287G certified and have the capabilities to assist federal law enforcement with removing illegal aliens from our streets. Since I have become CFO, I have placed a renewed emphasis on our Department of Financial Services Criminal Investigations Division to ramp up our efforts to work with ICE and arrest criminal illegal aliens in our state. Not only do we prosecute white-collar crimes and fraud, public assistance fraud, we're actually assisting our law enforcement partners in putting away criminal illegal aliens. Our officers are actively working with ICE to find illegal aliens with active deportation orders and turn them over to immigration authorities. Additionally, our investigators have extended their local support to local law enforcement agencies to augment resources and manpower when conducting anti-illegal immigration operations. Since I took office, our DFS investigators have arrested 53 illegal aliens, of whom 11 had prior charges for sex crimes. 10 were charged sex offenders. 1 have been charged with the possession of child pornography, and 1 has been charged with kidnapping. Now, those crimes did not have to happen. Those victims did not have to be victimized. But because of the Biden open border crisis, they were. And to continue to take away magnets and create disincentives, we have proposed again, yet again, major legislation to continue to keep our foot on the gas to curb illegal immigrants, especially those who are criminals, from coming into our communities. I am proud to say that this proposal was filed, and hopefully it will be moving through the House and the Senate to hopefully be turned into law. With this new legislation, proposed bill will prohibit all commercial driver's license pre-licensing instruction, testing, and licensing procedures to be given in any other language but English. If you are going to be on our roads as a commercial truck driver, you need to know the language. The days of you skating by, being on our roads and causing harm are over in the state of Florida. We want to remove illegal aliens as covered employees under the workers' compensation statute. Unbelievably, when you read that statute, it says there on the plain text that illegal immigrants are eligible for workers' compensation. We think that is wrong. Why should the workers' compensation system and other businesses who are doing it legally subsidize bad behavior of other businesses? We think that's wrong. We think that needs to change. In fact, we think that if you are a business owner and you hire an illegal immigrant and that person, if she or he gets hurt on your watch, it should come directly out of your pocket. You should pay for all of it. The system should not. In fact, we go a step further to say and protect the system, the workers' comp system, that if anybody gets hurt on the job, before we issue any benefits, we have to check the E-Verify system to make sure that they are in the country legally. And if they are not, then the business needs to take care of it and make the employee whole. We want to end the use of illegal IDs from sanctuary states to open up bank accounts and cashier's checks, because we know this is one of the ways that they feed money back to not just the people in the country that they came from, but to the drug cartels who paid for smuggling them over the southern border to get here. We want to ban illegal aliens from benefiting from down payment assistance programs meant to help Florida's families own their own home and prevent illegal aliens from getting silent second mortgages. We want to prohibit illegal aliens from receiving any license issued by the Department of Financial Services, not that we do it now, and we won't do it on my watch, but you never know who is going to be in this position 10, 20, 30 years down the road. We want to make sure it's in law so that never happens. And we want to require car insurance companies that insure illegal aliens using outlawed driver's licenses to fully accept the financial burden of a car accident involving an illegal alien. Some states offer driver's licenses to illegal aliens. In fact, some states are proud. Gavin Newsom did a press conference and sent out a press release that they were proud. I think it was about a year ago that they issued the 1 millionth license to an illegal immigrant in their state. Bad idea. But what we had found out, unbeknownst to us, that there are actually insurance companies that will offer and market to illegal immigrants for them to get insurance. Now, what happens if an illegal immigrant with that type of insurance gets into an accident here in the state of Florida? Even though we are a no-fault state, we think that that insurance company that insured that illegal immigrant should pay. They should automatically be at fault because they should not be here on our roads in the first place. To me, that is just common sense. That should create a disincentive for these insurance companies from offering the insurance to the illegal immigrants. And then maybe California would think twice about issuing driver's license to illegal immigrants, knowing that they are going to be on the road, uninsured, and create problems. Last year, the governor also signed $250 million in the budget for reimbursements awarded to the State Board of Immigration Enforcement, which I am proud to be a part of, to local law enforcement agencies for all 287G related activities, and to provide bonuses to 287G certified officers. The biggest disincentive that we can have, regardless of everything that we were going to do, are these guys right here, protecting our communities. It's these guys that should be the overall deterrent. 17 to 21 illegal immigrants in the United States is a big, daunting task if we want to get rid of them, especially the ones committing crimes, especially the ones committing heinous crimes. The enormity of the problem will only get solved if we have full cooperation with the federal government, with state government, and these guys behind me protecting their communities with their brothers and sisters, boots on the ground. You cannot fix all of that without a network of people all working together for the same common cause, which is to keep U.S. citizens, and more particularly Floridians, safe from harm. That's why we are so proud to have leaders like Donald Trump in the White House, to have leaders like Ron DeSantis as governor, realizing that this is the deterrent. That if you are going to come over to our country illegally, and if you're planning on settling in our communities using taxpayer funds in order to fund your lifestyle and commit crimes, the deterrent is, well, now we have a network. We have a network that flows through local governments, through the state government, in partnership with the federal government, that we will arrest you and we will deport you, because the first rule of government is to keep the people safe. And if you are not doing that, then you're not doing your job. That's why Governor Fry, whatever he is should resign in shame, because he's not keeping his people safe. He is 180 degrees different from what these guys do in their communities day after day. And that's why we go out and we work in partnership and we get these guys the funding that they need in order to facilitate this 287G program. Through these reimbursements, the state of Florida is ensuring that every law enforcement agency has the resources they need to enforce our laws and protect its citizens. Today, I am proud to be presenting some of those reimbursements to the sheriffs and our law enforcement officials that are here with us today. So what we're going to do next is we're going to call each of the names. We're going to take some pictures with the check presentation. We're going to take a group picture for everyone, so everyone outside of Florida knows that Florida is serious about illegal immigration enforcement. Florida is leading this nation with arrests and deportations. Almost 20,000 so far since we started this, and it's going to continue. So if you're an illegal immigrant, self-deport, because you don't want these guys catching you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they will. And I'm so proud to stand here with them today as we announce these awards. The first award, Sheriff Grady Jug. I think you guys know that guy. Sheriff J.D. Grud, Polk County Sheriff's Office, for a 287G reimbursement of $1,006,985. Sheriff?
Don't come up, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Next up, I just want to see Grady try to put that in a drive-through window. That would be.
Ride with me and you'll see.
All right, we'll do it. I think that might make a new viral video. We should try that later. Sheriff Alney has Hernando County Sheriff's Office for an award for $321,112. Sheriff?
Thank you.
You are too tall. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Major Ryan Brown, Sarasota Sheriff's Office, for an award of $283,389. You guys are so tall. I'm going to get platform shoes for these. Colonel Roberts, Hardy County Sheriff's Office, $135,560. Thank God somebody's as tall as me. With the same barber. Chief Frank Ruggiero, Port Richey Police Department, $32,850. All right, let's grab everyone up here for our big group photo.
You want us to hold your checks? Or?
Yeah, grab the checks, come on.
Sir?
Awesome, thank you guys. Thank you for everything that you do, keeping our community safe. We know how hard it is, the jobs that you do. Please, on behalf of the governor, on behalf of me, the rest of the Florida cabinet, heck, on behalf of every single citizen of the great state of Florida, go back to your people, your deputies, your police officers, and tell them thank you on behalf of us. We appreciate that. So now I'm going to call up Sheriff Nocco from Pasco County, talk about some immigration enforcement. Sheriff.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Chris Nocco, Pasco Sheriff's Office. So just a couple of things that was touched upon before, but I want to make sure everybody's aware. They don't usually, hear it, but the more you hear it, the more you understand what we do as law enforcement. In the past 90 days in Pasco County, we arrested 10 individuals. They had state charges, but then also were here illegally. So we're going after people that have state charges already. These are criminals in this country, but they're already committing crimes in our community, like you've heard our CFO talk about. The other one, too, is we had two heinous cases. One was last February, where an individual was in this country illegally, raped an underage girl, and we also had a 12-hour manhunt trying to find this individual. The other one was this past September, where there was an individual in this country here illegally who was, committing crimes that included human trafficking and also raping a juvenile. So we're going after the worst of the worst in every community. We're going after people that are committing crimes, but then these people are here illegally, and they shouldn't have been here. And like CFO Blaise Ngolia said, these are crimes that should have never have occurred. These are victims that should never have been victimized. And these are the people that should have never been in this country. So I want to thank CFO Blaise Ngolia. I was about to say senator. But he keeps getting promoted, and that's a good thing. Because I can tell you, Blaise Ngolia is somebody, when he was in the legislature and now as our CFO, is somebody who stands with law enforcement. He's somebody who's protecting law enforcement, make sure we can go do our jobs. Because unfortunately, as you see across the country, there are elected officials that don't protect law enforcement. And yes, we do need protection, because there's people that can create bad laws, that can do things to harm law enforcement from helping our community. The other one is, I'm going to go back to, I want to thank President Trump, the leadership we have in the state of Florida with Governor DeSantis. I go back to Blaise Ngolia. He's part of the cabinet. And so everybody recognizes that being part of that cabinet is critical to decisions that are made in the state of Florida. That's why we need leadership like Blaise Ngolia to be in there to keep us safe, to protect the citizens for years to come. The other one is our legislature. We're blessed in the state of Florida to have an unbelievable legislature that create the laws that are protecting the citizens. But where does it ultimately come back to? It comes back to our citizens. In the state of Florida, we are absolutely blessed by God to have great citizens and great voters, because they're the ones who are making the decisions to make our community safe. They are the ones that are making decisions to make Florida safe and a place where people want to come. There is a line out there of lawlessness that everybody sees. There's chaos that's going on, but you do not see in the state of Florida, because our voters do not want that. Our citizens who we report to do not want that. It is horrible. It's horrible for a law enforcement officer. It's horrible as me as a father. It's horrible as me to see what goes on in these communities. Think about it. They are blocking roads. They're out there. Everybody has a constitutional right to protest. They have a constitutional right to protest. What they don't have a constitutional right to do is to infringe their constitutional rights on other people. They do not have that right to go out there and harm other people, to disrupt other people's lives. So when they're blocking roads, did anybody ever think there could be somebody's loved one in an ambulance that can't get to the hospital because that road is blocked? Does anybody ever think that, there is that mother who's been working all day who has to rush home because their kid has to get to soccer but can't get there because, there's people blocking the road. There's things that are disrupting society. It's not going to happen in our state. I'm super proud to be a sheriff. I'm super proud to stand here with our law enforcement officers, because I will tell you, that's not going to happen here. You sit in a highway, you sit in a road, your ass is going to get pulled up quicker than you can think about it, because that's the way our citizens want in the state of Florida. Absolutely, everybody has rights. They have constitutional rights, but you do not have the right to go out there and firebomb cars. You do not have the right to harm federal agents or law enforcement agencies. You do not have that right. So I want to thank CFO Blaise Ngolia. He's a leader that is absolutely making positive changes in our state, and I support him because I know in the future he's going to be up there fighting for us. I also thank our God Almighty. I ask him to bless and protect all of us, and there's so many law enforcement officers here. There's so many that are working the roads right now, and I ask everybody at home, please pray for them. Please pray for their families, but also when you vote, when you go out there and you say, this is what I want in our community, please think of them. Think about making Florida continue to be safe and a place where people want to come, because we want people to flourish here. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Sheriff Al Nihai's Hernando County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff.
Good afternoon. Hernando County Sheriff Al Nihai, and I've had the pleasure of knowing now our Chief Financial Officer, and as Sheriff Nako said, Senator, and sometimes it's hard not to call him Senator, but I even knew him pretty well and considered him a friend before he actually took elected office. And I will tell you that one thing about Blaise Ngolia is you never have to wonder what he's thinking. He is going to tell you like it is, but he's going to have dialogue. He's never going to blindside you. He's never going to say one thing publicly and another thing privately, or do something privately. And he and I have had a lot of private conversations, and what you see publicly is what you get privately. And in law enforcement, that sometimes can be a rare commodity in general, and certainly when it comes to those people in positions of authority and in governance. So I want to say I appreciate our friendship, Blaze, and I appreciate his support of law enforcement. He knows a lot of people. He's from my area. He knows a lot of people in my sheriff's office and interacts with them on a regular basis. And to say he is supportive is a huge understatement. But he's also very pragmatic businessman, and I appreciate that about him as well. And so we go back a long way, and this funding, getting this reimbursement for the work that we have done locally on immigration, getting it from the federal government through the state government, to say it's appreciated is an understatement, because we have been, Sheriff Judd and I were talking a little bit before we walked in here, and you know, we haven't changed a whole lot about what we do when it comes to immigration enforcement. If we catch somebody who's doing something illegal and we take them to jail, and if they're here illegally, we tell the federal government, and hopefully the federal government would come and pick them up and deport them, particularly if it was a serious crime when they were done with their local charges. So we haven't changed a whole lot about what we do, other than now we work much closer with the federal government, transporting individuals. In my office is in charge of transporting for the 3 counties, the 2, and 1 north of me and 1 south of me. And we have a much, much better relationship with that federal government in everyday operations, and obviously in getting reimbursements. So, you know, Florida sheriffs for over 200 years have been problem solvers and have been law and order in the state of Florida, and very pragmatic about what they do. And I'm honored to be standing up here with a couple of my fellow sheriffs who I've known for a long time and have the weight of the world on their shoulders when it comes to their communities. And when somebody is a victim, and we all have big hearts, and it's easy to feel sorry for people that want to make a better life for themselves. And that's understandable, and we definitely get it. But the problem is the unintended consequences of ignoring the law to try to have a big heart. And then you have victims that are created who otherwise would not be created, because there are people who don't want to follow the law. And that is much harder to deal with when you're talking to a victim and you know that that person did not have to be a victim had the law just been followed. And so it is nice, and I'll repeat what my colleagues have said, it is so nice to have the cooperation, not just from the state of Florida, and we've had that for a long time. We've had very conservative leadership, and it is much appreciated by the Florida sheriffs in the state of Florida. It is nice to have similar cooperation now at the federal level, and it is amazing what can get done if we all just work together. So again, Blaze, we appreciate your support of law enforcement. You're a true leader, and we appreciate it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. 2 things I want to make a comment before I go on. The first is, well, maybe just one salient point, is that these guys in years past, under administrations that didn't do what they needed to do, quite frankly, the Obama administration and then the Biden administration, these guys were always arresting and detaining illegal immigrants. The difference is that they didn't, when they called up to the federal government and said, hey, we have the bad guys, you know what you got on the other end of the line? Crickets. They didn't care. They did not care, and that's the difference between what you're seeing today and what you've seen before. So just want to make that point. Next up to speak, Mayor Brown, Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. Did I say mayor or major? Mayor. Okay.
Major, sir.
I think I just promoted him. Major Brown, or demoted him, depending upon how much you like politics or not.
First of all, I want to thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Sheriff Judd, for having us. Thank you. Appreciate it. So my name is Ryan Brown, and I'm the law enforcement major of the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. I'm here on behalf of Sheriff Kurt A. Hoffman, who could not be here today. He's holding a promotion ceremony for some of our folks at the agency. It's a great day back at Sarasota. So what I'd like to say is, as an American, you should be proud of what we're doing here. As a Floridian, you should be proud of what we're doing here. What we have is we have a president of the United States who has a goal, who has a vision. We have a governor who has a goal and a vision, and we're putting it into action. And you have 67 sheriffs, 67 counties coming together in a collective effort to make Florida the best place to live, work, and visit. And I firmly believe, as a born and raised in Sarasota and a lifelong Floridian, that this is the best state in the country, and we have the best country in the world. And in order to do that, we have to take care of our citizens and make sure our citizens are safe. We are public safety officers, we are crime fighters, and that's what we do. And so the 287G program and the WSO program, is not anything new in Sarasota County. We've been part of that since 2018. It's where we have warrant service officers in our jail, and they can help out with the deportation program. 287G is newer for us, but what that means is we have certified officers on the road or deputies on the road. If we have a traffic stop of an illegal immigrant, we can make contact with that person. We can verify that they're wanted to be deported by ICE, and then we can take that person into custody and take them to jail. We're also part of helping transport illegal immigrants around the state so that they can be deported. And the whole goal here is public safety. That's what it's about. How do you tell somebody as a law enforcement leader you have somebody victimized, rape or homicide, and you have to go to that husband and wife and say, this could have been prevented, this was preventable, and we just had a blind eye to it because we didn't want to do anything about it. So the time is now, the time is changing, and we're going to be part of this effort, and if you're here illegally, you need to leave. Especially if you're here committing crimes, we're going to find you. I also like to say something for all of our deputies and federal agents. We're all human beings. We're husbands, we're wives, we're people in this community. And folks up in Minnesota, our ICE agents are trying to do their job. And for them to be victimized, if you come to Sarasota and try to hurt one of us, we're going to use reasonable and necessary force back in order to do our job. But on a normal basis, we treat everybody fair and with respect. That's just how it is. So really nothing's changed in that part. But for those federal agents up there, they have our support. And you cannot victimize or hurt a law enforcement deputy. That's absolutely unacceptable. With that, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Blaise and Goliath. We appreciate all the support.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Chief Ruggiero, Port Richey Police Department. Or is it Mayor? No, I'm just
I'll stick with Chief. But I would like to thank the City Commission for the City of Port Richey for backing me 100%, giving me everything that I need to fight this fight. And like the CFO and Goliath had already said, our main goal is to take care of the criminal element and enforce the immigration laws of the state of Florida and the United States of America. We're here with that with good leadership, and that's what we want to do. When I was sworn in as police chief, I swore to protect and behold, and that's everything. That's not just certain laws that I want to enforce. That's all the laws of the state of Florida. Whether I agree with them or disagree with them, we're going to enforce them. This here with the immigration is near and dear to my heart. I could tell you in my past history, before this immigration came around, we all talk about the sex offenders and the rapers, but we also have a lot of people out there driving every day. And I've worked those fatal crashes where we've had illegal aliens kill somebody, specifically a 16-year-old girl, and just leave her for dead on the side of the road because they didn't want to get deported. And then we had to track them down, which we did. And we'll take the enforcement action that's necessary because we're not going to put up with it anymore. You know, the accident that everybody knows about on I-95 with the truck driver, those are the things that our state enforcement efforts go to make sure we keep everybody safe, because everybody's like, oh, I live in a safe community, but you drive the roads every single day. And that's probably the most dangerous community you could possibly be on, are those roads out there. So again, I just want to thank the state of Florida, CFO and Goliath for helping us enforce these funds. My men and women from our department were 100% on board with the 287G. When I told them about it, they were excited. They wanted to be part of it. They want to do this. They're there for a reason. We're not just there to just drive around in circles. We're there to enforce the laws and make our community safer, and that's what we do in the city of Port Richey. And I'd like to thank Sheriff Nocco also, because we're in his county, and anything we ever need from him, he's always 100% there to give it to us, so I really appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Sheriff Judd, any last comments?
Well, I'm glad y'all joined us today. You know, the message is clear. As you see law enforcement officers abused and neglected across this nation, that doesn't happen in the state of Florida. When one of our colleagues calls for help, we're there to support them. Federal, state, local, we'll always be there. And the people of the state of Florida know that. And when you see all that mess going on in Portland, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, there's a reason it doesn't happen here. It's who you elect to public office. Those are the leaders that set the rules or the laws. They're the ones that support and protect law enforcement officers with their rules and the laws that they create. Blaze did a wonderful job when he's in the Senate. He's doing a tremendous job as our CFO. At the local level, it's our county commissioners. If they don't give me the money, I can't hire the people. I don't have the tools to do the job. Our crime's at a 54-year low. That doesn't just happen. Good people make good things happen, and our Board of County Commissioners are good people. Your Board of County Commissioners can also be a problem. If they want to pass rules that think more of the criminals than they do the law-abiding citizens, then crime goes up. I'm blessed, and I thank the good Lord every day for our commission and our commissioners who support us and who support the people of Polk County and who make public safety their top priority. But as I close today, you watch the evening news, the national news, and you see all this scrum and all this. But nothing's changed now at the local level. The Trump administration, the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Obama administration. We're doing the same job today that we did all along. Do you know what the difference is? The difference is the leadership from the president and the federal government who has said we are now going to deport, starting with the worst first, those that are here illegally in the country. We've been bumping into these people during our normal course of business all along. We've been reporting them to ICE all along. And all along, ICE has not taken very many of the people out of this country because that was a decision by the federal government. Nothing has changed here except the federal government is putting the resources and the infrastructure together and asking for our help. And I want to brag on our governor, Ron DeSantis, and our legislature, our Senate and our House. They created special laws to back us up and to require every law enforcement agency and every government in the state of Florida to support. I have the language here, 908-104. Law enforcement agencies shall use their best efforts to support the enforcement of federal immigration law. In these other states, the antithesis is occurring. They're passing laws prohibiting local law enforcement from assisting. But let me tell you something. I'll just share this with you. If I'm a law enforcement officer in Minnesota or California, wherever I'm a law enforcement officer, if one of my federal partners calls for help, I'm going to them. I don't care what the mayor thinks. I don't care what the city commission thinks. You're not going to run over our brothers and sisters in this business. And that's the way we do business in Florida, but that's the difference in who you put in office and the rules that they pass. So when you look at our performance here, you will find that the ICE now is deporting or taking possession of the people where they didn't before. The people we are taking to the jail and reporting to ICE are the people we interact with during our normal course of business. And ICE has put 1.5 million warrants out of their confidential ICE computer into the National Crime Information Center. So we're seeing people when we run warrants checks today that during the Biden administration back, and when I say the Biden administration back, it was the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Obama administration, those warrants weren't in our toolbox, and they are today. So when the numbers go up, it's because we know who they are. When we tell ICE, hey, we had a hit, they go, hey, no problem, we want them, and they're taking them. So you can watch all this, and this gnashing of teeth, you know, and you can tell when those politicians from those states are lying. Their bottom jaw's moving. We speak the truth in Florida, the free state of Florida. Thank you, Blaze, for everything you do. All right? God bless y'all. Y'all have any questions for the CFO?
Yep.
Can you just quickly summarize like what the agencies are being reimbursed for?
That might be a process question. You want to answer the question on process?
No, go ahead.
We're reimbursed for our resources, whether it be our book-in cost, our initial housing cost, whether it's transportation, fuel, gas, equipment, law enforcement officers' cost. That's what the reimbursement is for.
$1 million is a lot of money, so is that like the largest or one of the largest amounts that you?
I have no idea what has been paid out through the rest of the state, but I'm appreciative of it because it's taxpayers' money, and that it will, you know, here's the bottom line: either the local taxpayer has to pay for it, or the state, who is saying, hey guys, we need you to ramp it up and help, pays for it. And so what the state's done is they've given us money to allow us to buy the tools, the infrastructure, the fuel, so it comes into our budget and we offset cost, and or we buy tools or infrastructure that we need to support that.
Just want to hold on. I just want to piggyback off of that. Sheriff Judd made a great point. Is that the enormity of this problem, which was created by, quite frankly, it's created by the federal government since the 1980s, and the problem has just been absolutely exacerbated with the Biden administration. The enormity of the problem has become where the taxpayers are going to bear a big portion of the responsibility in extracting these criminal aliens. This does not happen free. These guys have salaries. Their deputies, the brothers and sisters that work with them, it costs money to do all of this stuff. So nobody ever thinks about, it's not only the cost of illegal immigrants coming into our communities and getting all these special benefits, some that you as citizens don't even get, but the cost of extraction is being borne by the taxpayer also. There is a cost. But what I want to remind everyone is that while the taxpayers are bearing a large portion of the cost on an extraction, the people who make most of the money on the infill, bringing the immigrants illegally here to the United States of America, are the drug cartels. So when we hear these stories about, you know, sympathetic ears like Mayor Frey out of the city of Minneapolis saying, you know, boo-hoo, we're finally getting rid of those bad ICE agents, are getting rid of criminal illegal aliens out of the city of Minneapolis, and, you know, the bleeding heart liberals that say, no, they should allow this stay. What they're doing is they're actually emboldening and enriching the drug cartels with that, because our best guess right now is that the drug cartels are making more money off of human smuggling than they are off of drug smuggling, and that has to stop. Next question.
What is the source of that state funding that you use for those reimbursements?
Federal government.
That's coming from
Federal government, 287G partner comes in, and then they make application for the amount of money that they need on, and it's a reimbursement program. Yes, sir.
Let me ask you.
What outlet are you with?
Chandler.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question about a specific situation you may or may not be aware of, but I want to kind of ask a bigger picture question here. In that there was Pinellas County Sheriff's Deputy Michael Harwood, who was tragically killed when he was run over by a piece of heavy equipment when he was doing traffic enforcement. He was run over by a man that was later arrested. He was working on a FDOT contract. That individual was later discovered to have used false identification. He was a Honduran national. Everybody on the crew, it turns out, was here illegally. This individual is still going through the court process, but my question is, how do you ensure that companies, especially those who are using state of Florida tax dollars, are hiring people who are here legally, and do you now go after that company to ensure that they don't do this again?
So the way you do that is full compliance with E-Verify, where we don't have just 25 and over, which is the current law. I tried to get full E-Verify done where every single employee employed in the state of Florida has to go through the E-Verify process, but you also create huge disincentives. It was a substance of another bill that I filed when I was in the Senate that said if anything happens to an illegal immigrant or somebody that they kill, the company should be on the hook for it. The way you fix that problem is by huge disincentives. So the first way you do it is to make sure and ensure that no illegal immigrants that do not have authorization to be in the United States to work legally are not able to work legally. And that's making sure that you have every person going through an E-Verify process and big disincentives and penalties for the companies that hire them.
So next, that company is one that should be looked into?
That is a blanket statement for everyone and anything that happens in this country. That my stance on that is not going to change situation to situation. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
This question is for Sheriff Grady Judd. Since participating in the 287G program, how many undocumented immigrants have been detained or transferred to ICE?
Well, I don't call them undocumented immigrants. I call them illegal immigrants because that's what they are. The reason they're not documented is they're not legal, okay? They're illegal immigrants. 74% of the illegal immigrants that we've detained have had criminal charges against them, okay? The other 26% were riding with them, okay? So when we stop a car, we run a warrants check on everybody in the car. When there's a call for service, we run a warrants check on the victim, the suspect, and all the witnesses, okay? We call that 26% collateral. But 3 out of 4 of them have committed another criminal charge. Now think about that for a second. They couldn't commit that crime if they weren't here, but they did. So now you're having to take your taxpayer money and my taxpayer money and pay for the prosecution of those folks, pay for the public defender that defends them, pay for the jail and the prison sentence depending on what the charges are. So and the majority of the 26% that was left out of the 74% of them had criminal charges. They were what we call collaterals, and most of them were with the person committing the crime, and that's the numbers that we have so far, and those. So how many illegal immigrants have we arrested this year? We've arrested 557 that have criminal charges, as well as they're here illegally. That's just this year. But here's the thing and let me focus on this. And I know on social media people have already tuned out, but you need to tune back in and listen to this. The reason that you see ICE flooding into Minnesota and Minneapolis and into Los Angeles, into these big cities, is because they refuse to turn over the illegal immigrants who are being arrested by the local police department where there's outstanding ICE warrants. If they would have simply, instead of fighting back and pushing back against the federal government, instead of violating the federal law, which is what these leaders have done there, if they just said, look, ICE, we don't want our police actively engaged in ICE enforcement, but you can come in our jails, and as we make arrest, you can go through your evaluation process and remove those criminals that are committing crime against the citizens of the United States and against each other. You can remove them. Then they wouldn't be flooding these big blue areas with all of these ICE agents. So it's the policy And the laws that the California and the Illinois and the Minnesota and the Oregons and the Portlands and the city, it's the laws that they've passed that's created the environment for ICE to have to go in there and do it all on their own. And it puts the ICE agents at additional risk. The local law enforcement officers have already taken the risk to arrest these people. They're in custody. They're locked up. They're in a county lockup or a city lockup someplace, or a state lockup for their causes. But yet they're telling the city, the county, or the state prison system, turn these illegals that have committed crime back out into the community on our people. And so if ICE can't get help from the state and the local folks, then they have to send more resources in order to do the job. All of this could have been avoided. All of this could have been. You don't see that happening in Florida. You don't see ICE sending 1,000 people down here to go into Miami or Jacksonville or Tampa or Orlando or our big metro areas. You don't see that. You know why? Because we're cooperating. And this same environment could be in every one of those states if the state had cooperated. But instead, you've elected a bunch of people there, governors, primarily, House and Senate members, mayors, city commissioners, county commissioners, that said, hey, we're going to let these criminals that are here illegally committing crime against the people of the state of California or Minnesota or wherever, we're going to allow them to come back out into the community and commit more crime against you rather than turn them over to our federal partners. That's why you're seeing all this scrum all over the nation. That's why you're seeing it. If they were cooperating like Florida was cooperating, there would not be the protest, there would not be the conflict, people wouldn't be angry, they wouldn't be going to businesses because they would be caught up like they are in Florida when they're committing crime and we turn them over to ICE. They're already caught and they're out of the country. That's why you're seeing this. It's created by the law and the practice and the policy of the elected officials at the state level, the county level, and the city level, telling them to oppose federal law. Now, why in the world you want those people in those positions that think it's all right to oppose the law, that think more of the criminals than they do the suspects, I don't know. That's why we call this the free state of Florida, because we're for the people. They're for the criminals.
And Sheriff, what's the percentage of deputies that have been deputized to enforce these immigration laws?
We have, they're called DIOs. Every deputy can detain and report to ICE, okay? We've got approximately 250 that have got the specific ICE training so that they understand the nuances of the ICE laws. But still, whether you're DIO trained or not, we can't enforce the law. We just have the tools to easily recognize that in addition to the databases, this person's illegal. Then we report them to ICE, and ICE tells us hold or don't hold. So all we're doing is helping ICE. All we're doing is helping our colleagues that are enforcing federal law. And that's why if you don't like any of this, and go to your Congress people, your senators and your House members, and get the law changed. These other states are defying the law, the rule of law, and that's the first step toward anarchy. I mean, we all studied that in civics. Oh, wait a minute, they don't do civics classes anymore. Anyway, in a minute I could get to preaching. But Jesus loves you, you know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, you mentioned more than 500 illegal immigrants were detained. Was that this year or
This year.
2025?
557 on local charges. They committed a violation of law in Florida, and they were illegal. Okay?
I'm not sure if it was said already, but what's the total amount of reimbursement money that was given?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm not sure if it was said already, but what's the total amount of reimbursement money that was given?
We can get that.
They'll get
We
that
can
for you.
that. Sydney in the back can get you
I
that.
understand that Sarasota County now has ICE actually in the county jail. Do you have that here?
Yes, we have ICE agents that work in the jail, and they do that work for us. When they're not there, because they're not there 24/7, then what we do, we have people trained there that contact ICE call centers. I'm telling you, folks, they're trying to demonize ICE. We work with them hand in glove every day. They are wonderful, dedicated, hardworking law enforcement officers, and they're not getting crap thrown at them in the state of Florida. They're not ginning up people that are not happy in the state of Florida because we're not putting them in that position in the state of Florida. Pick your state where they don't cooperate with ICE. The state governors and mayors and legislators are creating this conflict and this assault on our ICE agents because they won't support the federal law.
Sheriff, there's been reports and videos circulating showing ICE officers in Minnesota and other places going after people who were just shooting video of them or protesting and using tear gas on protesters and journalists. Do you have concerns about any tactics that any ICE officers are using?
I'm not sure there's anything wrong with spraying journalists with tear gas, is there? Just kidding. You can't tell from an individual video clip of what's happening. And because, for example, the shooting last week, right? If you notice, that lady's car was sideways in the road. Well, why was her car parked sideways in the road? Well, she was obstructing them during the performance of their job. So when you see a video clip here or a cell phone clip there, that doesn't tell the story at all. But I can assure you of this, that the protocols and what law enforcement officers are taught, hey, if you're standing on the sidewalks protesting, taking videos, that's cool, that's good. But if we're in an enforcement action and you're down in our face obstructing us from doing our job, that's a violation of law. But you can't look at individual clips and discern exactly what's happened because you have to do the before and after. I've got to tell you, when you get that many people in a scrum at one time, mistakes can happen. Mistakes can happen. But you had a good question there to it. You said, well, they're spraying chemical agent on reporters. My goodness. We don't do that here. We love our reporters.
CFO,
Yeah.
so the proposed legislation that's been filed, what's the next step?
So the legislation has been filed. Legislative session started on Tuesday. So the next step is meeting with the Senate President, meeting with the Speaker of the House, meeting with the chairs, and make sure that it moves through the committee process. What we have filed may not necessarily be the end that gets signed into law, but we're going to make sure, no matter what, that what we do is going to be the toughest that it possibly can on cracking down on illegal immigration. I think that we in the state of Florida need to view illegal immigration reform as something that we do on a yearly basis. The same way, after every election cycle, we normally offer an election security bill to find out what the bad actors did in the last election, and we make sure that it doesn't happen in the next election. I think that an immigration enforcement bill should be standard fare every year in the legislature, because no matter what law we put on the books, you are going to have the nefarious actors try to work against those laws to circumvent the laws to effectuate more illegal immigration. I do want to piggyback off of one of the comments that the sheriff that made in talking about sanctuary policies. Sanctuary policies need to go in the United States, and he's not wrong. Sheriff Judd is 1,000% right. You will have an illegal immigrant commit a crime, let's say in Oregon, and they're an illegal immigrant, and sometimes these crimes are heinous. And in years past, under previous administrations, they would call ICE and ask them to deport, and they wouldn't, and they would eventually wind up in, say, like Washington State, Seattle, another sanctuary jurisdiction, only to find out that that same criminal illegal alien committed another crime there, and it was the sanctuary policy that attracted them there. The easiest way to get rid of sanctuary policies is maybe we should start charging the politicians with crimes that vote for the sanctuary policies and make them accessories to whatever crimes are committed by illegal immigrants in those jurisdictions, because to me they're absolutely complicit in the crime, because it never should have happened in the first place but for those sanctuary policies, but for some politician voting thinking that that's okay.
The legislation you mentioned, is that one particular bill or multiple bills, and do you have the number?
So there are a couple of different bills moving through the legislature. Senator Martin and Representative Bernie Jacques, I believe, are carrying the large immigration proposals. There's one proposal that is going to set the E-Verify threshold at 0, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And then they are both carrying the large piece of immigration enforcement proposal that we have drafted out of our office. Any other questions? Guys, thank you for coming. God bless you guys. God bless the great state of Florida. Thank you, guys.